NFL Week 4 is here. We're going to hit on all those primetime games, including that doubleheader on Monday Night Football. We're going to check in with VR, see what he's got for the Steam report. Those barking dogs are going to keep on barking this week. Is the Deli still open? It's been red hot. Maybe Marco is going to mix it up and give us a trap game. And of course, we're going to follow it all up with those best bets on the next episode of Bet On It. Kelly Stewart here with Marco D'Angelo and Yanni the Greek. Good morning to all of you out there on the West Coast. It's a beautiful day, and it's NFL Week 4. I know I'm pretty happy because I went 4-1 last week in my Super Contest plays, and the one loser was just that, Marco. Plain ugly, and that came to the hands of the Seattle Seahawks. I played against them thinking, hey, short week, divisional game on deck, Thursday Night Football, but I was dead wrong. That game got out of control, and it got out of control early. Now Seattle heads to Arizona as a 1.5-point favorite on Thursday night, total 43.5. Talk to me about why you like the home underdog here.
Well, Kelly, everybody's going to overreact to, what they saw with Seattle winning in a blowout. The week before that, they went on the road in Pittsburgh. So now all of a sudden, Seattle is a world beater. Let's just pump the brakes there. Arizona, put them on that long list of teams last week that took a gut punch at the end of the game. I mean, I can't remember an NFL Sunday where more games were decided on final plays of the game, and we had some absolutely bizarre endings to these games, and Arizona was one of them. They were in position to beat San Francisco in a key division game, and generally speaking, when you lose a game like that, you worry about losing the same game twice. But the fact that this game is back at home, it is a Thursday night, it is a division game, and it is a game that they absolutely need. I mean, obviously, anytime you're playing a division game, the need is there for both teams. But given the fact that they lost last week to San Francisco, a division opponent, this makes this game a little bit more sense of urgency for Arizona, because if you lose to both of your division rivals out of the gate, it's going to put you behind the 8 ball for the rest of the season, looking up at those other teams. Arizona did struggle to move the ball last week, as it was a low-scoring game, but let's not confuse the Seattle defense with the San Francisco defense. We know the 49ers have had their problems on offense this year because of all of the injuries, but that is still a very stout defense with the 49ers. Seattle has had back-to-back easy wins, as I alluded to, and part of it was, one, they played probably one of the 2 worst teams in the NFL this year, the Saints, and then the week before, you talk about gift wrapping a game for them. That's what the Pittsburgh Steelers did. Now they've got to play on a short week on the road. We know that the home team has the advantage on these Thursday night games on the short week. Now, given that it is a division game, that is neutralized a little bit because you know your opponent well. You face them twice a year. I'm not going to buy into the Sam Darnold experience just yet. Let's see what he does in a primetime game. We've seen him hear footsteps and see ghosts and everything else in big games before. And for Arizona, they did suffer a little bit of a setback last week offensively as they lost James Conner, the running back, for the rest of the season, which means Kyler Murray's going to have to step it up. And by stepping it up, I mean we're going to need both his arm and his legs in this one, and I think he can get that job done. I'm going to take the home team here. I think we've seen this line cross over, and that's because of what people saw last. We've seen, history has shown us, that's a mistake when you overreact to one ball game. Arizona opened a favorite and now is a slight underdog. I am on Arizona in this one. I think they get the job done, and I'm sure later in the week, VR will be talking about it. If this line stays the way it is and gets to that 1.5 or 2 on the Seattle side, you know that there'll be teasers with Arizona as well for me on Sunday. or excuse me, on Thursday if we stayed till Thursday, hooking with something till Sunday. But it's Arizona 24-20 for Thursday night, and I'll have them in teasers.
All right, guys, appreciate you hanging out with us here every single week on Bet On It. And if you like the show, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. Something you want to see done differently, drop it in the comment section. Love a play, hate it, tell us all about it. We'll all jump in the comment section and get in there with you guys. Let's go Sunday Night Football. Green Bay now up to a 7-point favorite at Dallas. Total 47.5. And I had to go to my friends at the Gold Sheet for this one. By the way, the Gold Sheet right now, $9 for everyone. No coupon code required. WT.buzz/GTS. And the reason why I went to the Gold Sheet is because if you guys remember last week, I told you to take Cleveland. And this is the exact same situation they gave me to play Cleveland. But this week is a play on the Cowboys. When playing in the first half of the season, home underdogs of at least 7 points have gone 19-1-2 over against the spread over the last 3 seasons. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to go, oh, Kelly, you're too optimistic on this Cowboys team. George Pickens was supposed to be great. He was supposed to complement CeeDee Lamb, who's now out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. They've got injuries on the offensive line. Diggs wasn't able to finish against Chicago. That defense got gashed by Caleb Williams and the Bears. But Javonte Williams is able to get the running game going. I do think that the Cowboys' offensive line is going to be better this week against the Packers. I know it looks scary to take a team that just got the crap beat out of them by a mediocre Bears team, but this is the spot to take them here at home. Make sure you get the 7, shop around, and hey, maybe this one even gets to 7.5, and you can tease down the Packers and hope for that middle and hit both sides. VR, we're going to let you start off with the first Monday Night Football game. The Jets are a 3-point underdog at Miami, and the total is 3.5.
Yeah, 5-3-1 heading into this week on the show. Hopefully we turn a little profit this week. This is going to be a tough one to bet, but I see absolutely no reason to not take the Jets on Monday night. This is one of those coin flips that you get plus money on. Again, it's hard to argue for either of these teams, so I don't want to waste a lot of your time, but you're looking at 2 teams that have allowed a ton of points defensively. So look at the under for sure, especially with the recency bias on both of them. But with that said, the difference is, number one, you look at the passing success rate. These quarterbacks are right next to each other. Make sure you check to see that, Taylor's starting for the Jets because of the injury situation. But so far, it's pretty much confirmed that he will. But just make sure of it. With that said, again, passing success rate, they're right next to each other, 45.3 and 46.4. Okay. The biggest difference between these 2 teams has the Jets could realistically be a 2-1 football team. Both of their losses come by a combined 4 points. There's a lot of randomness involved with that, whether it's turnovers, penalties. But when you have 2 losses by a combined 4 points, again, the Jets on paper are better than their record reflects. And that's the kind of team you want to back, especially in the dog position, where a team like Miami, 0-3, they've underperformed against the betting market. There's absolutely 0 reasons you should get excited about wanting to lay points with Miami. You're more or less paying for the name because and the fate of the Jets, where we're just so conditioned to expect the Jets to just suck. And they do at 0-3, but the Dolphins are not any better, also sitting in 0-3. And again, well underperforming the betting market. So yeah, I like the Jets. I think this is a money line bet. Again, it's a key of 3 key numbers, so you got to take it. But I think it's a coin flip game. Miami's got less than a 2-point home field advantage. So I just don't see why they're that key 3 favorite. Give me the Jets as the TV pick for the week.
All right, Marco D'Angelo. This is going to be an interesting one. Speaking of teaser spots, Cincinnati up to a 7.5-point underdog at Denver, 44.5 here. Talk to me about why you like the under.
Yeah, Kelly, talk about a teaser spot. How many teasers are going to be tied to Denver, getting them down to 1.5? I think this line will probably go up during the week as they try to get the teaser blocker in play to slow that down, because there'll be so many teasers tied to Monday night and money line parlays to the Broncos. And why not? Because the public's going to look at Cincinnati and they just remember the last thing they saw. And the last thing they saw was Cincinnati just absolutely get blown out in Minnesota, 48-10. I enjoyed that one. That was our best bet here on the show last week. Minnesota, we had a good 5-1 with the big 6 plays between the college and NFL show. So let's keep it going this week. But I look at this one in Cincinnati, they are going to be up against it. Now, that score last week, yeah, they got killed, but 5 turnovers are going to do that. You go on the road and you turn the ball over 5 times, you're going to get blown out, and that's what happened. Cincinnati has had 0 running game through the first 3 games. They've rushed the ball for 46, 48, and 53 yards. I don't care who your quarterback is. When you are that one-dimensional, you're going to have problems moving the football. Now throw in that you've got backup quarterback because Joe Burrow's out. This offense is going to struggle. So why don't I just go ahead and take Denver and lay the points, because they should blow them out? Well, Denver's in a bad scheduling spot. They're coming off not 1, but 2 gut-wrenching losses back-to-back weeks. If you remember 2 weeks ago, they looked like they had the game won against Indianapolis when Indianapolis missed the game-winning field goal. Oh, wait, there was a penalty. Indy got to kick it again and won it on the second kick. Then last week, they're winning the whole game against the Chargers. Chargers come back, tie it, win on the final play of the game, field goal once again. So, yeah, 2 devastating losses. And, oh, by the way, look at who they play next week. They've got a game with the defending champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. And, oh, that game's on the road, off a short week on a Monday night. And that's going to be their 3rd road game in 4 weeks to start the season. That's pretty tough schedule for the Broncos. So what am I alluding to? I'm alluding to that the coach, Sean Payton's going to want to get in and get out as quickly as possible. I see them running the football. And if you look at this Denver offense, Bo Nix, he's suffering the sophomore jinx. There's no question about that. They have not moved the football. You don't want to lay over a touchdown with a team that in their 3 games so far has scored 20, 28, and 20 points. That's not a recipe for laying over a touchdown, but I don't trust the Bengals enough to grab them. So I'm going to go under the total in this one. I don't see Cincinnati having success against the stellar Denver defense. And with the struggles that the Broncos have had and being satisfied with shortening the game and getting out and getting on to next week in the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to go under the total here, Kelly. Let's take this one under the 44.5.
All right, let's get right into the Steam Report VR. oddslogic.com/Kelly in Vegas. If you guys are looking to sign up, you get a free week here if you guys use my promo code. So make sure you do that. And if not, like VR said, use the Wager Talk free live odds page. VR, I'd like to ask you a question before you get into the NFL Steam Report for week 4. What should people do with this information?
Exactly what I do with it. I already have put in my work. So I have everything circled on what I like, my sides and my totals. And then I wait for the information to come in to see what the groups that I provide accounts for are betting. When they come in and bet one of the sides that I like, now I know, gives me the confidence to release it as a premium play to my subscribers, gives me the confidence to add more risk for myself, because I already get a percentage of the accounts that I bet for them. But these kind of plays I bet more on for myself, like considered premium plays. And I recommend that the bettors out there do the exact same thing. You don't have to agree with everything. In fact, you should disagree with a lot of it, but it's what you agree on that you want to be getting down on. And more importantly, you want to make sure it's at the number as well, because again, if they're laying -3 and now it's -4.5, it's no longer the same bet. So it's all different pieces of the puzzle. But when you put those pieces together, when it all falls nicely, you get the perfect picture and you cash a ticket. So that's how the information's been valuable to me. That's why I tell my subscribers the exact same thing. And with the Steam Room, I give enough volume that you don't have to piggyback everything. So as long as it's the numbers there, you're getting a good number and you agree with it, then you should have the confidence you're placing a good plus EV bet. Again, it's been good in the NFL so far. In the regular season, we didn't have a good preseason, which is rare. Usually preseasons when the betting syndicates do good. They just did not have a good season this year, at least the ones that I work with. But the regular season's been good. It's put me at #1 in profit at Wager Talk so far, so I'll take it. So far this week, it's a little slow. Most of the action, as I talked about on Wager Talk today and on last call, comes in later in the week with the NFL. Injury report is very key with a lot of the NFL steam. And more importantly, very little of the volume is on sides and totals. The majority of the money starts coming in on those team totals, first quarter bets, second half bets, first half bets. Those smaller market derivatives is where they do the majority of the damage. But here are some of the sides and totals that they got out ahead of for this week. 251 Minnesota, the look ahead at 2.5. Again, the limits are low, but they took the 2.5. And here's what you want to look through, follow through. They followed through and also laid the 1.5 with Minnesota. That's as legit as you're going to get. 253 Philadelphia, laid the 2.5 look ahead and laid the key 3. Another key number they laid. 267 Jacksonville, San Francisco, laid the over 45 look ahead, follow through, went over 46 as well. That's opposite the public. I almost used that, but I wasn't able to get that 46. And at 47, I said, let me wait till Sunday. Public money may push that down because I'm already seeing under money there. 276 Green Bay, the look ahead, 4.5, got the 6, and then laid the 6.5 after the weekend, and also under 48 there. And finally, Monday night, key number, no surprise, 280 Denver Broncos, -6, 6.5 was the look ahead, and then the 7 when it opened up. That's why you're looking at 7.5s right now. But pay attention and see later in the week or game day, more importantly, especially if the books need teaser protection and bump this up to that 9 range, then rest assured, those that laid the 6, 6.5 should come back and attempt the middle with the other side.
VR, I want to follow up on that really quickly, just because I've heard people tell me these lines don't matter, right? So the Superbook puts out a graphic late August, and I like to use it for Survivor, right? Here's what the lines would have been. Here's what the lines are now. And you mentioned the look ahead line. So this line for the Packers game was Green Bay -1.5, right? Let's call it August 25th. Then you mentioned the look ahead was 4.5. Green Bay loses to Cleveland. Dallas, it was 14-14 in the second quarter. They just never scored again. Their defense gave up some long bombs to Caleb Williams. Now the line's up to 7. Should we just completely discredit that line from August?
Yeah. Great question. Because usually if that was the case, it would be dog or pass right now. For us, as looking for plus EV bets, it would be impossible for us to look at the Green Bay side if thinking just a few weeks ago I could have laid -1. But that's a completely different market. It's a completely different time. And the objective of those bettors is also different. Like a lot of those guys that did get down on Green Bay, it wasn't even a handicap of Green Bay. It was a handicap of where that line's going to be when game day rolls around. And obviously they were correct, those that laid the Green Bay. But the limits are smaller. It's not like universal worldwide. So I don't put a lot of stock in it. Because they're just so off a lot of times. Like some are pretty close and pretty accurate, but you see it in college football all the time where there's 6, 7, 8 point differences by week 4, 5, or 6, just because things don't play out the way we project them, especially in football where there's just so many injuries and just so many different factors in play. You know, there's so many pieces of a puzzle of a football team. And I think you shouldn't put too much stock on those August numbers. Don't let that stop you from betting a team and thinking like, oh, dude, that now it's a 6-point line movement. No, it's a line movement off the look ahead, not off the August number.
Awesome stuff. Let's get into those barking dogs. This has been our best segment, at least as a trio. Marco's Deli has been very, very good. VR has been cashing those best bets. Me, not so much. But I have been nailing these barking dogs. Marco, last week, let's talk about it. Last week, you would have used this team for the Deli, right?
Yeah.
Why are you using him this week as a barking dog?
Well, you know, we want to get a dog that we think has a good shot of winning outright. And this is a team, could have been a sandwich spot as well this week, and I'll explain later, but I've got a better game when we get to it later and tell you why we're using that one. But full disclosure, okay, let's start this with Jacksonville. And I've got to say, the Jacksonville Jaguars have been a colossal pain in my ass, okay? 2 weeks ago, I go against them with Cincinnati, and Cincinnati did everything but win that game. They go up and down the field. Turnovers end up killing them at the end, and we lose that game. The only time that we weren't covering it in the final 18 seconds. Then last week, what happens? Well, I go against Jacksonville. I've got Houston, and that, full disclosure, was my 5% play. The score was tied 10-10. We had just completed a pass that was going to give us 1st and 10 inside the 20-yard line with under 4 minutes to play. But as he tried to extend the play, Nico Collins gets hit and fumbles the football. Jacksonville recovers. We could have ran the clock down, got a game-winning field goal or a touchdown. No, we turn it over, and Jacksonville goes down and scores to beat us in that one. So why am I trying this again? Well, it's the spot. And you look at this one, the 49ers somehow, despite all the injuries that they have had, are sitting at 3-0. More importantly, they're 2-0 in their division. And here's where the sandwich part comes up. They're 2-0 in the division. They just got done beating Arizona last week. They already beat Seattle the first week of the season. They play their other division rival, the team that most people expect to challenge them for the division this year, the Rams, next week. So definitely that's a look-ahead spot. Oh, when do they play them? Oh, they play them on Thursday Night Football next week. So they got to play in a short week. I think this is a great spot for Jacksonville to come in. They got a win that they didn't deserve last week. And I love taking teams. You hear me talk about it all the time. Oh, I want to go against the team that looked good in losing. Well, there's a second half of that. I like to take a team that looked bad in winning because people underestimate them. I'll go ahead and take Jacksonville plus the points here. The 49ers rushed for 77 and 73 yards in the last 2 games. You can't be one-dimensional in the NFL and win, especially with a backup quarterback. And oh, by the way, yeah, they won with a backup quarterback last week, Mac Jones. What do we always say about injured player theory? When you lose a quarterback, I like to take the injured team the first week. Well, they got the win last week with Mac Jones. Now they got to win a second one with Mac Jones. I'll go against them. Give me Jacksonville. Let's see if they stick it to me one more time. Jacksonville, 27-20.
I like Jacksonville too, Marco. They owe us this one. VR, you've got I'm going to call it the wise guy game of the week. I think this is going to be, all of the sharps are going to be on one side. All of the squares are going to be on the other. But I don't know if I trust the New York Giants. Can you please break this down a little bit? And then I may give you some pushback afterwards.
Listen, I'm going to keep it this simple. It's as simple as this. Bring me Jackson Dart. The Jackson Dart era begins on Sunday. That's the key here. Coupled with the Chargers getting some injuries that are starting to mount up. And this is coming from someone that has a future on the Chargers So I have over season win totals on the Chargers. I have a future on the Chargers to win the Super Bowl. So it benefits me for the Chargers to be biased towards them. But this is just a really good spot for the Giants. Also, if you listen to the narrative of how well over the last 5+ years, West Coast teams flying to the East Coast, how that used to be a disadvantage, that's no longer the case. Now how they're covering, all that's juiced this line up to much higher than it should be. The Giants at home should not be catching 6.5 points, almost a full touchdown to the Chargers, especially with Jackson Dart coming in. Here's the key. From going from your one quarterback to your two, the points is based on the drop-off, not just like who that first quarterback is. And the drop-off between Dart and Russell Wilson right now, what is it? Is it really a loss? Is it really a negative? Maybe the Russell Wilson, if you look at his whole career, it may be in the future, but as of today, right now, the way Russell Wilson's playing, how's this a drop-off? His quarterback rating in the last game was 43.8. He threw 32 attempts, 18 completions for 56%. Against Washington, he had a 59 quarterback rating. He threw the ball 37 times, had 17 completions for 45% completion percentage. Where's the drop-off? And that's what this line reflects, a big drop-off. I get it. Dart doesn't have the pro experience, but he's not there by accident. He's their number one pick. Good career with Ole Miss, USC. So, he's bred to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And I think it's something I've learned from Marco, almost the injured player theory, where everyone else knows they have to step up because now we don't have our starting quarterback. We don't have our stud, even though he hasn't been a stud this year. So I like this 0-3 versus 3-0. I like the Giants at home. This is only their second home game. And I think the Chargers, as well as they played, the injuries are starting to pile up. And Habers, he's going to regress a little bit to the mean. He can't stay perfect. So give me the 6.5 with the Giants. Sprinkle that money line. This is going to be the teaser special of the week. Chargers will be on every teaser, and it's a terrible bet. Even at 7, it's a terrible teaser, even if it wins. So give me the Giants, New York Giants. So we're on the Jets and the Giants. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
The New York parlay.
Yeah, the New York gross parlay. VR, I'm going to push back just a little bit. I do agree with you here on the Giants. I understand this is a terrible spot to lay it with the Chargers. Here's my problem. 17-35-1. That is the record of NFL rookie starting quarterbacks in their debut. I understand the pushback is going to be, we don't need the Giants to cover. We don't need the Giants to win. We just need the Giants to cover. But does that rookie record, maybe it just is like looming in the background? You know what I mean? Like that's what's going on in the back of my head.
I know. No, it's scary. Listen, getting a rookie quarterback in the NFL in his first start is usually a handicapper's fade. But I just think that the spread is the great equalizer here. And I think that at the very least, the back door is going to stay open the entire game. And
listen, I can rest assure you that in the red zone, he's not going over. Okay. He's not going, if Jackson Dart takes off and his name isn't Russell Wilson, that's a touchdown. That I agree. I agree with the move to Jackson Dart. I just have some concerns that Russell looked so good against that awful Dallas defense. And
that was it. That one game.
I'm with you. All right, let's get into my barking dog. And I went back and forth to kind of decide which barking dog I wanted to use, what I was going to use for my best bet. And ultimately, I decided that the Cleveland, good grief, that was last week, that the Indianapolis Colts was going to be my play. Look, we just talked about how bad the Giants have looked. Maybe somebody owes Daniel Jones an apology. We'll see how that ends up playing. But this is more of a play against the Rams. They're back home now after back-to-back road games in that Eastern early window. How quickly can they put that loss behind them? I don't know if you guys watched End Zone Live with me and the Prez and everybody else on Sunday, but that was incredible. That was a crazy game where millions of dollars change hands. And I know I come on here and I complain about my losses and never say, holy crap, I should go buy a lotto ticket, but I should. Cashing that Philadelphia Eagles ticket was an absolute utter miracle. But I don't know how quickly Los Angeles can move on from that, right? Let's start off with who they've played so far besides the Eagles, the Titans and the Dolphins. I think that their metrics might be a little skewed, but the Colts on offense so far, number 2 in EPA per play, number 2 in success rate, number 1 in EPA per pass attempt, number 1 in passing success rate, and number 5 in EPA per rush attempt. I know that there is a whole argument that's going to say, oh, this is not the time to take the Colts. They're way too overrated. No, I think this is the time to take the Colts. I think you take the Colts plus 3.5, and I think you sprinkle them on that money line. Now, Marco, normally I would write you a letter and say, or a text message, excuse me, and say, Marco, you can't use the same game the VR used, or VR, you got to change because Marco had it in the script first. But I got to make you answer to this New York Giants play as well, because again, it is the sharp square play of the week. You both like it. I know Teddy talked about it on opening line report this week. Didn't say he was going to necessarily play it, but mentioned the tough spot here for the Chargers. Tell me why the Deli is closed and you're going with the trap game of the week here.
It's a trap.
Well, the Deli's closed because if I used the Giants as the sandwich game, the health department would have closed this down. But man, this is the classic trap situation, and it's all about scheduling and what is in store for the Chargers. And God bless them if they can go across country this week and win in New York after the gauntlet of their first 3 games of the season. Then you know what? Maybe you better run to the window and grab some future tickets on them for the Super Bowl, because that will be quite the accomplishment. And let's look at what they've had to do. They opened the season against the Kansas City Chiefs, okay, the team that's gone to the Super Bowl 3 years in a row. They had to give up a home game to go to Brazil to play a division game. That should never happen, that any of these games that you play out of the country is a division game. Well, that was the first check mark for getting screwed. Then they come back after playing the Brazil game. They had to play Monday Night Football on the road against the Raiders in Pete Carroll's coaching debut, home debut. Okay. They handled business there, or maybe we should say the Raiders lost that game because the Raiders were pathetic in that game. Then what they have to do after that, they finally get a true home game. They got to play the Denver Broncos, everybody's other darling, who was going to challenge Kansas City this year. Well, that was a dogfight. It was a physical game. It went right down to the end, and they come from behind and kick the game-winning field goal at the gun. How do you pick yourself up after 3 grueling games like that? Not to mention, those were 3 division games. They have such a leg up in the AFC West. It isn't funny. You beat all 3 teams already in your division. Now you go on the road to play in the Eastern time zone against an NFC team. How many times have I told you? The least important game on a team's schedule every year is a non-conference road game. That's the bottom of the list when they get 2 tiebreakers at the end of the season. There's just no way that I can see. And if Harbaugh has them ready to play, God bless him. He's a better motivator than I give him credit for. But this is just an absolute flat spot for them. Now, there is going to be a little bit of a hoopla. Maybe that is what he can use to get his team sparked with the fact that Jackson Dart is starting. They're going to, it's an unknown commodity. And you say, hey, guys, we can't take them for granted. But here's the reality of that. Starting a rookie quarterback, and Kelly, you put that stat out there, and that is true. But here's the difference. They have been grooming him to start. He's seen action. They've brought him in certain plays. The last few games, they've had plays in their arsenal for him to get his feet wet. You knew this day was coming. It was just a question of when. Well, the when is now. What do you prepare for? Yeah, they showed a couple things on the gimmick plays they ran with them. Did he even throw a pass? Everything was a running play. You don't know what plays they're going to call for him as the starting quarterback. And I think that gives them an element of surprise. And also, they're playing with free money here because nobody's going to expect anything. You're already 0-3. Give me the Giants. This is a trap game for the Chargers. I'll take the 6 points, 6.5. And as VR said, I expect it to get to 7 by Sunday. With the public is only going to bet this game one way. If you got to hold your nose to get to the window, go ahead. But I'm taking the Giants.
All right. Oh, boy. I'm going to hold my nose all right, Marco, because that one makes me very, very nervous. That being said, I don't disagree with both of you guys there. If you don't disagree with Marco and VR, we have a Bet On It all access football special for you guys right now. That means you get every NFL, every college football play they release through the Super Bowl, including those 5% best bets. If you purchase each package separately, pay $739 each. But with this offer, you get all their plays for $11.98. That makes it $5.99 each. I'm not that great at math, but it looks close to being a $300 savings. You get full access to both handicappers at an unbeatable value. Marco, 5% plays, 32-13 since February 2024. VR, right now, #1 in college football season, up 68 units. Make sure you guys get on board over at wagertalk.com. Let's get into those best bets. VR, I'm going to let you go first here, per usual. Tell me why we're taking the Chiefs. I like this.
Yeah, and I actually sent that out today to subscribers. That's why I changed it, made this my best bet. 4%. If you could get threes out there, if you even 115 at Westgate, but even the 2.5 that are at -105s, again, if you're not laying more than 130, you're good. Otherwise, take the 2.5. But I don't think we're going to need it here with the Chiefs. Bottom line, this Baltimore team, there's 1 and 2 teams, but they're both top 10 still power rated. That's why this game really matters. The team that goes to 2-2 is like still has a season. The one that goes to 1 and 3, it's going to be really hard to bounce back for. This is a big, big game. And we have a Chiefs team, even though they're on the road, you know how Mahomes tends to do. I mean, what's it called? That playing at home, Mahomes in a big game, he's gotten it done for us time and time again. If you look at the defense of Baltimore, okay, they gave up 38 to Detroit, all right, 41 to Buffalo, 17 to Cleveland. And you know the most that Cleveland scored so far this season? 17. That was against Baltimore. Kansas City's going to be able to finally put up some points. And this offense isn't as bad as they're being made out to be. They're still near top 10 in most of the metrics that matter. And I think against this defense, they're really going to shine. On the flip side, I think they're going to be just fine. Kansas City, top 5 in efficiency. In fact, they're number 3 right now. So I get it. Baltimore is one of the best offenses in all of the NFL, top 5 every year. But they're going on the road, and they're playing a top 5 defense in the Chiefs. I love Kansas City in this spot. I think even last week against the Giants, it was a win where their stock didn't really rise. Like, I mean, the Giants were a touchdown away from backdoor covering it for a quarter plus. So, yeah, I think this offers a lot of value for the Chiefs. I will go even as far as saying I think this should be a pick 'em at worst. So take the Chiefs, sprinkle that money line, and let's cash your best bet with Mahomes in Kansas City on Sunday.
I do like that side. Got to get ahead of that number, guys. If you can find a 3, check out oddslogic.com/Kelly in Vegas. If you guys are looking for a 7-day free trial over there, Marco D'Angelo, I know I mentioned that you and VR have a promo package up together. What about somebody who's looking for something for this weekend over at wagertalk.com? And then give me your best bet for NFL Week 4.
Well, Kelly, the Weekend Warrior package, people absolutely love it. You get your favorite capper, $49. It locks you in for every college and NFL play Saturday and Sunday. And as a bonus, you'll get, if they have a Monday night football selection as well. Guess what? There's 2 Monday night games this week. Not exactly the best Monday night games, but you get 2 of them. I guess quantity's better than quality for this Monday night. And Kelly, we are the last 2 seasons number 2 college and pro combined, money won. So check it out in 5% plays. We've been dead on. We did lose one last week, a rare one, as we mentioned in the other show, with the Houston Texans fumbling the game away, forced 3 turnovers, but we will bounce back this week. We had a great college week last week, and let's keep it going. Speaking of keeping it going, 5-1 last week with the plays here on the show, and we're going to go with the best bet. And before you start putting in the comment section, oh, he's a homer. No, he ain't, because I went against the Steelers the first 2 weeks of the season. We didn't have a play last week with them, but we're 2-0 going against the Steelers. But this week, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're playing in Dublin. Now, I got to figure out if I'm going to get up at the crack of dawn to watch the Steelers here on the West Coast on Sunday morning. But this is a spot where it's as much going against the Minnesota Vikings as it is taking Pittsburgh. We've seen the market move on this game, and I always say, no team is as good as their best game, nor are they as bad as their worst game. And the market is overreacting to that 48-10 win by the Vikings last week. And remember, we had the Vikings as our best bet, so I enjoyed it. But I'll be the first to tell you, yeah, they dominated the game. Yes, they won by a landslide. But the game was won because of 5 turnovers by the Cincinnati Bengals. Carson Wentz filled in for J.J. McCarthy, and before everybody starts making the Minnesota coach the quarterback whisper, let's see another game from Carson Wentz. There's a reason Carson Wentz is playing for his 6th NFL team in 6 years, okay? I don't buy that he'll have that same type of game this week. He's not going to be gifted good field position all over the place. Aaron Rodgers is not Jake Browning. He will not be rattled. Plus the fact, let's not forget how many times Aaron Rodgers has faced this Minnesota defense from his days with Green Bay. You've seen the market take Pittsburgh from a small favorite to now a 2.5-point underdog. Everybody wants Minnesota, and I know VR mentioned it in his Steam report, but I think it's an overreaction to 1 week. I'll take the Steelers here. And as I said in an earlier game, let's not forget that injured player theory. The way we work that system is we take the injured team in week 1 because everybody rises to the occasion, steps up to compensate for the loss of your quarterback. But if they get the win in week 1, it's a 2-part system. We go against that team the next week because they don't have that same intensity. I'll go ahead, take Pittsburgh. Let's call it 27-20. Pittsburgh gets the win. And one other thing of playing in Dublin and traveling, there's not a team in the NFL that travels better with their fans than the Pittsburgh Steelers. How many times you see them in road games, no matter what city they're in, you see those terrible tiles. A lot of people made this trip to Dublin. They'll be there in full force. Take the Steelers.
All right. Steelers look like a nice teaser option, Marco. I'll leave it at that. I may be here even on the East Coast, not up early enough for that game. I don't know why we keep doing things internationally, but we are. So God bless all of you that are willing to get up at 6 a.m. Pacific to watch the Steelers play. All right. I will get into my best bet here. This is just as gross as watching the Steelers play. And actually, it's probably even worse. And I'm wearing a purple jacket. So sorry, Marco, if it looks like I'm cheering for Minnesota in that one. All right. The Raiders. Yeah, I know. No one wants to take the Raiders. DraftKings is holding a +1.5, -120, while the rest of the market on Odds Logic screen is at a pick'em. I think that's very, very interesting. They're begging for Raiders money, and I don't blame them. How good Did the Cowboys make Caleb Williams look last week? Yeah, that's exactly how it panned out. 31-14 when it was 14-14, and the Dallas Cowboys defense just absolutely let the wheels fall off. And then no CeeDee Lamb. But Dak Prescott still completed 31 of 40 attempts, and Javonte Williams still got 7.6 yards per carry on the ground. Geno Smith looked awful on that Monday Night Football game against the Chargers and did not look great last week, or did he? Last week versus the Commanders, the Raiders offense 5.7 yards per play. Geno Smith 19 of 29, almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and yay, finally, no interceptions. Raiders defense has some holes, but the Bears are still 4-14 in September. Do not overreact to one good game against that Dallas defense. Raiders win this game. Look, take the 1.5 minus 120, take the pick 'em. Maybe even wait. Maybe the Raiders will move to 1.5 plus 1.5 here at home across the board, and you can put them in a teaser. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. I think Raiders right now are the play as a pick 'em. Let's bring back in the guys for this recap of NFL Week 4. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us here every single week here on Bet On. Again, give us that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. Let's get that recap graphic up for everybody who's asked for it. If you guys have something else you want to see here on Bet On It, drop it in the comment section. We always try to respond to you guys. And of course, if you missed the college football edition of Bet On It, it is right here. And be on the lookout for that mega show. That's right. We're going to have the Deli. We're going to have Ralph's TNA. We're going to have college football and NFL combined. We've also got Teddy's Stock Watch all together, prepackaged in one large show. Or if you're a Wager Talk insider, wt.buzz/insiders. $2.99 a month gets you access to all sorts of fun things. Last week, it got you a free access to VR Steam Room. It's going to get you the TNA from Ralph Michaels first and foremost, so you don't have to go searching for it. We're going to throw the Deli in there, maybe Teddy's Stock Watch, and much more for you guys. So wt.buzz/insider if you guys are looking to join the club. Good luck this week. And until next week, let's bet on it.
We are going to start looking at NFL 3-0 and NFL 0-3 teams, including a 78 and 68% ATS situations. Next, we're going to look at teams pre-bye. Many people talk about NFL teams after their bye week. You're going to be surprised at these pre-bye numbers. And we're going to finish this off with 3 NFL systems, all 66% or higher. I am Ralph Michaels. This is the Wager Talk NFL TNA report. And I know you know what that stands for, trends and angles. Let's get right to it. First, we're going to start with NFL teams that are a perfect 3-0 to start the season. And again, these numbers all go back to 2015. People ask why I use 2015. Well, that's when they moved the extra point back. So it's just a crisp, clean starting point to give us a big enough sample size. If you bet every 3-0 team, you are 46.5%. If you bet every 0-3 NFL team, you are 64.3%. Do those numbers surprise you? Let's break them down. First on the top with the blue headlines, those are NFL teams that are a perfect 3-0 to start the season. Home favorites, 50%. Home dogs, only 3 of them, like Tampa Bay, 2-1, 67%, small sample size. Away favorites, 6-5-2, 54.5%. And away dogs, like the Indianapolis Colts, are 2-7, 22% ATS. 0-3 teams. Since 2015, you blindly bet them, you have cashed 64.3%. If you have an 0-3 team that's a home favorite, 62.5%, like Houston and Miami. Home dogs, 4-6, 40%, small sample size, it's the Giants. Away favorites, even smaller sample size. Think of how many away favorites are 0-3, not many, only 6 in the last 9 years. No one applies this week, but again, remember this chart is good for all those teams coming up that are having bye weeks in the next few weeks, and away dogs like the New York Jets, New Orleans Saints, and Tennessee Titans that are 0-3 are now 13-6, 68.4%. How about this for a surprising fact? You'd think we'd see 3-0 versus 3-0 teams very often. Since 2019, this Tampa Bay Philadelphia game is the first time there's been a 3-0 matchup. So we went through the 2020, 21, 22, 23, and 24 seasons, 5 seasons, without having 2 teams matching up with records better than 3-0. That surprises the heck out of me. Situation 2. You hear a lot of people talk about teams after byes. Are they rested? Are they flat? Rest versus rust, blah, blah, blah. But think about a team before a bye. The next week, you get to spend with family and friends. You get to relax. You have no grueling practices. So what do you want to do going into that restful week? You want to have a positive attitude. How do you have that? By winning. It's simple. If you blindly bet every NFL team that has a bye on deck, you have gone 56.7%. And that is with over 360 game sample size. That is a strong trend, my friends. 57%, 9 years, 360 plus games. Mark this down and make sure you're following this the rest of the season. Home favorites with a bye on deck, 62.7%. Doesn't apply to anyone this week, but it will down the road. Home dogs, 57.4%. Atlanta is in that role. Away favorites, 55.9%, like Chicago and Green Bay. And away dogs, 42-41, 50.6%. I did list Pittsburgh in the here. You see that the neutral sign after. Pittsburgh obviously playing overseas. But again, it still gives you the situation where teams are traveling with that bye on deck, like the Steelers. So my takeaway, guys, if a team is anything but an away dog pre-bye, they certainly get 1 or maybe 2 check marks into the positive technical angles for that team for that week. Before I get to our 3 NFL systems that are 66% plus, we ask you one favor. If you learn one thing on this video, please hit that like button. Remember, these situations not only apply to this week, but for the entire season. Mark them down, keep track, and hopefully it helps to get you a few NFL winners. If you're not following Wager Talk social media among all their networks, why not? Over 300,000 people are subscribers to Wager Talk social media. You should be part of that group. One last thing I want to share for you. This is my first college football 5% this year. College football last year, number 2. College football this year, 10-5, 67%. NFL and college football combined, number 2 since the start of 2024. NFL this season, 63%. NFL plays rated 3% and higher, 7-2, 79%. My college football play this week, $35. Don't buy it. Why? You can get the Weekend Warrior today. Sign up for it today. It's $49. You'll get all of my college football Saturday, including that $35 5% play, all of my NFL on Sunday, and if I have a Monday NFL play, you'll receive it as a bonus. The Weekend Warrior, just $49. Number 2 football service since the start of 2024 in NFL and college football. Don't miss out my first college football 5%. By the way, college football 5% sides, 6-1, 86%, and 13-3, 81% since December 2024. Your 3 NFL systems for week 4. When teams are embarrassed, guys, they show up the next week. When you have a non-division road team that failed to cover their last game by 26 points or more, like Cincinnati, they have gone 85, 42, and 5, 67% against the spread since 1990. System number 2. 2 teams that have win percentages of 100%. That means they're undefeated. No ties. Oh, you can't have a tie. Excuse me. That's why I used 100% and not a perfect record. So 2 teams with a win percentage of 100% or higher. And the home team is a dog or a favorite to 2.5. They are 61, 32, and 3 against the spread since 1989. That is Tampa Bay. So again, 2 teams with a win percentage of 100%. The home team is either a dog or a small favorite to minus 2.5. Again, like Tampa Bay, 66% ATS. And our third and final system for NFL Week 4 TNA, teams that won as a dog by 17 or more points. First 5 games of the season, and they are now a dog or a favorite to minus 7. So again, first 5 games of the season, this team is off an upset win as a dog. They won by 17 points or more, and they're now a dog or a favorite up to a touchdown. Since 1994, they are 33, 72, and 3, only 31%. That is a 69% fade. What 2 teams pull those upsets that are in a 69% fade situation? That would be Carolina and Chicago. Guys, remember, sign up for the Weekend Warrior today. As soon as I load those plays, you will get them immediately. Do not wait till Saturday or Sunday when the lines have moved. Be part of my Weekend Warrior special with my first college football 5%. I'll be back next week with some more NFL TNA.
So it's been sell through the first couple of weeks of Stock Watch. Let's change it up today and start buying. And the team I'm going to buy, we're going to buy the New York Giants. Buying low on the 0-3 Giants as they make the quarterback change to Jackson Dart. First, it's worth noting Dart cannot be worse. Well, he can be, but Russell Wilson wasn't exactly lighting it up so far. The Giants held to single digits twice in 3 games without him. It's not like Dart is hopeless, all right? He had a great preseason. He's got a strong arm. He faced SEC defenses in college. There's hope for the guy. There's weapons around him. Malik Neighbors, Wendell Robinson, Cam Scattaboo's been really good already. Dynamic playmakers around him with the ball in their hands. The Giants' offense/defense, they're not getting crushed on a yards per play basis. All right. It really hasn't been as bad, perhaps, as the final score. But look, so the statistical profile is reasonable. They're coming off a national TV loss in which the defense played well throughout, value-laden team right now. And when we look, they lost to Washington, KC, and Dallas. The defense played really well in 2 of those 3 games. They contained Jaden Daniels. They contained Patrick Mahomes. The pass rush is there. So we have weapons on offense. We have a defense that's decent. We have a team that's 0-3 that everyone's, Brian DeBall, they've already fired him. I'm not firing the Giants. And we look at the schedule. Again, they got the Chargers this week, step up in class. They have a game against the Saints next week, so a chance to win. And after that, Philly, at Denver, at Philly, San Fran, at Chicago, Green Bay, at Detroit. They're going to be underdogs in every one of those games. Big underdogs in a bunch of them. If they play competitive football, and I think they can, there's money to be made for the New York Giants. So let's buy this 0-3 team and expect better results moving forward than what we've seen over the first couple of weeks of the season. Buy low, sell high. We're buying low on the G-Men right here. Best of luck with all your bets this weekend.
It's week 5 in college football, and we have some awesome top 25 games for you guys, including some barking dogs. We're going to check in with VR to see which games got steamed early in the week. Maybe the Deli stays open. Marco's been red hot there. VR has been cashing those barking dogs. Mine finally got an outright win last week. And of course, we're going to get into those best bets up next on Bet On It. Kelly Stewart here with VR. You guys know him as Yanni the Greek, and Marco D'Angelo, who stole my Twitter name so many moons ago, at Marco in Vegas on social media. All right, guys, we're going to get into this week 5 card. We got some awesome top 25 matchups, starting with one at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Number 4 LSU is a 1.5 point underdog at number 13 Ole Miss. 54.5 is the total. Marco D'Angelo, I'm going to let you get right into it and break down this SEC matchup for us.
Well, looking forward to this one, Kelly, because we've got, two different styles here with these teams. It's going to be both teams rolling here, obviously 4-0, and both enter off of blowout wins. But it's going to come down to, is it going to be the Mississippi offense or is it going to be the LSU defense that decides this one? Ole Miss is averaging 45 points a game, but they haven't faced anything like LSU's defense. LSU has yet to allow a team to rush for 100 yards against them this year. To me, I feel the wrong team's favorite, and I think that's because you've got, Mississippi, and the offense is sexy. Let's be honest. Everybody loves to see, teams going up and down the field and scoring points. Nobody wants to watch a defensive battle. Also, we've had LSU even after their win, and I hate to bring up this team's name, but I have to involve it in the game because they are officially banned from the Bet On It broadcast, and that's the Florida Gators. But when LSU beat Florida, and they only beat them by 10, and they only scored 20 points, instead of the reporters after that game asking Brian Kelly, your defense was tremendous, you produced 5 turnovers, the first question he got asked was, what's wrong with the offense? And he went ballistic. So I think you're going to see a little bit more of a wide open game from LSU. They have to, because they're going to have to score some points. And it's going to come down to Garrett Nussmeier being the difference in this game. I always tell you, Kelly, give me the better defense getting points. Now, granted, we're not getting a lot of points here. It's basically a pick 'em, but LSU is the better team, in my opinion. I said it at the beginning of the season when we did our previews. I thought they were a legitimate national championship team, but a little bit of the luster after their what looked like good wins at the beginning of the season when they did beat Florida and they did beat Clemson kind of lost its luster given what those two teams have done since. But I still think this is a good team, and they get it done on Saturday against Ole Miss. Let's take LSU 31-28.
All right, Marco thinks Whit Weeks is going to take on Landry. Well, you guys don't know. You guys are too old. You don't follow on social media, but in case you missed it, Lane Kiffin's daughter, Landry, had a hard launch with the best defensive player on LSU this week. So maybe Dad's got something to prove in this one. I don't know how you quantify it, but I found it rather hilarious. VR, let's talk some more SEC. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Oh, I'm sorry, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Number 17, Alabama, is a 3-point underdog at Georgia. 52 here is the total. Break down this matchup. Kalen DeBoer versus Kirby Smart.
Yeah, great game here. And I'm going to keep it as simple as this. The wrong team's favored. I really do think so. Alabama's the better team. They just don't have the better record. When you look at the series, they've absolutely owned Georgia in this series. In fact, the last 5 times they played, they won 4 of them. 3 of those times they were underdogs. They won outright. So it's not like they haven't been in this spot before. The only difference is now, they're traveling to Georgia. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Right now, Georgia's has problems. Their strength was the offensive line. But if you see that right guard, they're just keep rolling in freshmen. They don't know how to solve that problem. So if Alabama's defensive line brings pressure like they're capable of, that's going to create a lot of problems for the offense of Georgia. And then on the flip side of that coin, Alabama shouldn't have a lot of too much trouble protecting that quarterback, even though, Georgia's defensive line is really good. I think this Alabama offensive line's ready for it. Also, I forgot on the defensive side of the ball, Tim Keenan returns, which is huge, huge, huge for that run defense right there in the interior. So that returns a big, big, big for Georgia. Now, back on the offensive side of the ball, Simpson's just done everything right. He makes all the right calls, all the right choices. I think they'll be able to stretch the field where, Georgia's kind of like they methodically march down the field. I think the bigger plays will come on the Alabama side. I think offensively, Georgia won't be able to disrupt Simpson like they're going to try to do. They won't be able to make him uncomfortable like they've done with other quarterbacks so far this season. And in the secondary, that's where they're weak. And that's where the strength of Georgia's offense comes in. Alabama's offense comes in. So I really think Alabama has a huge advantage on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball. Again, that secondary is sick. Georgia's going to have a lot of problems putting up points. Give me Alabama. Give me Alabama on the money line. Obviously, 3 is such a key number. I'm going to grab it. The only reason I haven't released it to subscribers yet is I wouldn't be surprised to see a 3.5 on this at some spots because I am seeing one-sided Georgia money. And it's not surprising because you look at the rankings, you see a Georgia team that's top 5, and you see an Alabama team that's barely in the top 20. But I talked about it before. Power rating-wise, nothing could be further from the truth. Alabama's top 5 in the country. In fact, I don't think there's more than 2 teams that would be favored over them on a neutral field. That was as a true line. Again, books got to manage risk. That's why I'm saying I think the wrong side's favored. So give me Alabama, sprinkle that money line, and Georgia gets their first loss.
Yeah, I kind of lean Alabama with you there, VR, in this one. Let's go to the late game there in Happy Valley, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Number 6, Oregon is a 3.5-point underdog at number 3, Penn State, total 52.5. And if you guys remember, this is a rematch of last year's Big Ten championship game. Oregon won and covered 47-37, even though it gave them worse jockeying position in the college football playoff. Let's talk about Oregon and what we've seen since they've joined the Big Ten. Yeah, I have not been that impressed. I'm going to be honest. They haven't really played anybody. This is their first real big road test in the Big Ten. Again, last year, Ducks got eliminated in a tougher spot in the college football playoff. Penn State and Drew Aller just 1 interception away from being in the national championship game. I do think this Penn State team coming off a bye here in an early situation, James Franklin should be ready, right? I mean, my producer made a joke prior to us starting. He said, yeah, but James Franklin freaks out whenever there's a number in front of his opponent's name, and I get it. Oregon has just won their first 4 games by a combined score of 203-37. They have routed these cupcakes, including last week in-state rival Oregon State. But I think this line is actually short. Beaver Stadium at night is worth at least 6 points of the betting line. This place is going to be absolutely rowdy. Give me Penn State minus 3.5. Make sure you guys give us that like, thumbs up, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of Bet On It. Also, check out the Wager Talk Insiders, wt.buzz/insiders. $2.99 a month gets you lots of exclusive access, including last week to VR's Steam Room. Speaking of that Steam Room VR, you've got a Steam report for us for college football week 5, oddslogic.com/Kelly in Vegas. If you guys are looking for a free week over there, so you guys can follow along, see what's moved, what we need to be playing here early in the week. And then VR and I again on Sundays on Wager Talk's Last Call.
Indeed, yeah, and it's pretty busy already this week. So far, Wise Guys have done really well. We won in week 0, 1 in week 1, 1 in week 2, 1 in week 3. So it's been profitable every single week so far. I'm picking from these moves. Here we go. So far, we got 1 weekday game, and that was East Carolina game 104. Laid the 3.5 and laid the 4 on East Carolina. Moved to Saturday's action. 112 Bowling Green plus the 10.5. 117 Utah minus the 10.5 and 11. 126 Arkansas plus 6 down to plus 5. 129 UConn minus the 3. 137 Duke minus 5, 5.5. Syracuse injured quarterback. 159, Cincinnati plus 6.5, plus 5.5 as well. 151, Appalachian State laid minus 115 to get the 17, then took 16.5 as well. 156, Stanford on the money line minus 130. 166, Mississippi State plus 9 and 8.5. 183, Arkansas State plus 2. 194, Colorado State minus 3.5 and 4. And finally, 202, Washington plus 9.5 and 9. Keep in mind, I talked about it over the last couple seasons. When the line moves significantly in college football, you want to be very cautious. At the very least, you want to limit your risk. Because if you remember, back in the 2021 season, here's what I did. I marked down every line move that of 3 points or more. And if you bet before the move, you hit 62% of your bets. You went 226, 139, and 4. So it's a big sample size, almost 400 bets. And if you bet it late, meaning after the 3-point movement, you went 184, 182, and 3, 50%, which is exactly what the book's supposed to do when they move the line. They're supposed to get to that break even. We lay 11 to 10, so we can't be profitable. So once that line moves 3+ points, it shows you, even if it's the right side, it's no longer profitable to bet that. That's where the number truly matters. And that's the clearest example of it mattering. So pay attention to those line moves. Odds Logic, at the very least, Wager Talk free odds screen.
All right, let's get into some of those barking dogs. Marco D'Angelo, I'm going to let you go first. This is a dog that I had on my very long list. And maybe you just might make me regret not playing them. I didn't end up getting to the window with them in my moneyline parlay. I may end up getting to the window with them with my money. Tell me why you like Virginia Tech with the double digits, 10.5 here currently, to possibly get the outright win.
Yeah, Kelly, we're bringing you a big dog because we know you like us to have those big puppies. You don't want us bringing a small one in. And we're looking at this one, Virginia Tech. Who really is going to want them? They started the season at 0-3. They fired their head coach early in the season. Then they responded with a blowout win last week. But who did they beat? Wofford, 38-6. Big deal. So they're flying under the radar. NC State returns home, losing in a barn burner, 45-33, after they blew a 2-score lead in that game. Now, I was very happy they blew that lead because I was on Duke in that game. They killed themselves, NC State, with turnovers, 4 turnovers. But not only did they shoot themselves in the foot with the turnovers, their defense got shredded all day long. NC State cannot stop the pass. All 4 opponents this year that faced them have thrown for 250 or more yards. NC State's going to have trouble stopping this Virginia Tech team, who should be able to move the ball. NC State is also in one of my favorite situations to fade. They came off a high-scoring loss. They are going from a dog to a favorite. Everybody likes to take a team, if they lost, looking for them to bounce back, especially if it was a high-scoring game. They look good in losing. They'll come back home, bounce back. I like going against those teams that switch from dog to favorite. And then let's be honest with Virginia Tech. As I said, they started the season 0-3. What did that really do other than get the coach fired, which probably might be a blessing in disguise? They start conference play on Saturday. They're looking at 0-0, not that 0-3 start to the season. I think the season begins for them on Saturday. They got new life, hit the reset button with the new head coach. And how many times have you seen a team rally after a coach gets fired? And until that team loses, I'm going to ride them. 10.5, do they get the outright win? That might be asking a lot, but I think this is going to go right down to the wire. And when it's all said and done, I've got Virginia Tech pulling the upset 27-24. Give me those 10.5 and do a little sprinkle.
All right, Marco, maybe I need to look at the Hokies just a little bit more before they kick off here on Saturday. Before we go to VR, please tell me about the Weekend Warrior promo we have going on over at wagertalk.com.
Yeah, Kelly, it's a great package to do. It's been a success. We've run it the last 2 weekends. We're going to keep doing it. What you do is you pick your favorite handicapper. You'll get all of his Saturday and Sunday football plays. Just $49. Anybody that has a 5% play going over the weekend. Those plays by themselves sell for $35. We did have one last week. Unfortunately, we'll talk about that more in the NFL segment. It was in the NFL last week, but you'll get all of my plays if you want to come on board, grab all of VR's plays, either way you want to do it. We've got a big weekend going. College football, my 4 and 5% plays, 7-0 in college football this year. We will have a 4. Haven't decided if we're going to upgrade it and make it a 5 yet. I'll decide that on Friday. But Weekend Warrior, $49. You'll never miss a play from your favorite handicapper in college and pro football.
All right, VR, when I first saw you put this play into the script, I thought, okay, late night special, here we go. Turns out Hawaii's playing on the mainland. This one's a 4 p.m. Eastern kick. Tell me why you like Hawaii to be Air Force.
It's not even just a bet on Hawaii. It's also a fade on Air Force, who has no business being this big of a favorite. It's a 1-2 team that's 0-2 in their conference right now. They were favored once this year, and they lost that game by 19 points as favorites. So again, the reason they're favored is it's Hawaii on the mainland, and this offense has been putting up a lot of yardage. The problem is they're going up against a really, really good defense in Hawaii. A lot of people may not realize that. Hawaii's usually known more for slinging the football, but offensively, they just haven't been that potent so far this year. But it's their defense that's keeping them in games and has them at 3-2. Now, again, Air Force does put up yards and primarily running the football. You know what they're going to do. This isn't new. Hawaii's seen it before. Fortunately, Hawaii's got one of the best defenses, as I touched on, allowing very few points per game. I think they're 29th. Top 30 for sure in yardage allowed. They just been unlucky so far this year too. And that usually you're going to see a regression and a progression towards the mean. When I talk about luck, it's turnovers. They're one of the worst teams right now, -8 in turnovers over a couple games. It's unsustainable to be that unlucky. Also penalties. That's something you could clean up. They rank near the bottom in penalty yardage allowed. Again, that's something that I think you could fix. I think the points are just way too many here. Again, I'm not going to go as far as saying the wrong team's favored like in the last one, but I do think Hawaii could keep the defense could keep them in this game where they're live at the end. Again, I don't feel comfortable laying any kind of points with Air Force. So give me the 6.5. Sprinkle that money line as well. And let's see if we could get a W on our dog of the week.
I'm also looking for a team who can win outright after Maryland got it done for us last week. Our Barking Dog segment has been red hot, not only in college football, but NFL this year. So we're looking to keep that one going. And I'm going to start it off with the Kentucky Wildcats. They're currently just shy of a touchdown there in Columbia, South Carolina. And I know South Carolina has won and covered each of the last 3 meetings, including last year where they thrashed the Wildcats as a 9.5-point underdog, 31-6. But if you guys have been paying attention to Kentucky games, 12-2 against the spread, the underdog is in those matchups. So you've got the Wildcats coming off of bye, looking to avoid an 0-2 start in conference play after they lost, but didn't cover to Ole Miss in week 2. Gamecocks have already hit that 0-2 mark in SEC play. They lost to Missouri. And if you guys remember, we were on Vanderbilt just a couple of weeks ago. Last week's loss was interesting. Lenora Sellers was back and forth all week. He did end up being a go. So they did end up getting the cover, and they finally went over the total. South Carolina's had 5 straight unders. And why? That's because of Mike Shula. I told you guys this a couple weeks ago. The Gamecocks have not scored more than 20 points on offense with him as the play caller. They're number 110 in offensive success rate, 123 in EPA per rush attempt. And their average third down distance of the Gamecocks offense has been faced with the season, 9.41 yards. That is the worst in the country. Bottom line, take the better defense plus the points, and do not forget to sprinkle on that Cats money line. I think Kentucky goes in there and wins that game outright. If you guys are looking for some help on your handicapping, Gold Sheet this week, WT.buzz. /GTS, $9. That's right. No coupon code required. This week's edition of the football newsletter called the Gold Sheet, $9 for everyone. WT.buzz /GTS. Marco, I mentioned to start the show that your deli has been absolutely cooking, for a little play on words there. Let's keep it cooking this week. You and I are head to head though. And I didn't end up giving out this game on the show, but now I'm thinking maybe I need to relook my third leg of my underdog parlay.
No problem, Kelly. And if you like the deli, the games that we do here, check out the other video I do each week. We release it generally late on Thursday. Marco's Deli, I go a little deeper. I mean, we only give you one game here on the show from the deli. I have games that were in contention that fit the recipe that I like to use when I'm cooking in the kitchen, and it's been profitable. We've had 3 weeks of Marco's Deli. We skipped the first week because, you got to have some games to be able to have sandwich spots. 3 straight winning weeks, 10-5 overall. We've had 5 plays that we've given every week, and it's free. Just head over to our Wager Talk TV YouTube channel. You'll find it on Thursday evening. And the easiest way to find all of the videos for us at Wager Talk and all of the cappers is to subscribe to the channel. You'll be notified every time there is a new video available. All right, let's get into this week's deli, and we're going to take a look at Auburn and Texas A&M. And this is one of those ones, guys. Texas A&M is coming off a bye week. If they weren't coming off the bye week, I wouldn't be playing them in this spot, because they would have been coming off that thrilling come-from-behind win at South Bend, 41-40. I would want no part of them if they had to come right back and play. But they've had that extra week of practice. They were able to party if they partied, pat themselves on the back, read their press clippings, whatever you want to do, however you want to call it. Now it's back to business. The team that's in a bad spot is Auburn. And Auburn's been good to me this year. They have exceeded expectations. But that comes to an end this week. And they played in Oklahoma last week. Final score, not indicative of how tight that game was. It actually was a 5-point game late. There was a safety late in that game. But Auburn has played well. Asking them to go to Oklahoma last week, play a top 25 team, play their guts out, come up short, and do it again on the road for a second week in a row against another top 25 team, a team that's had 2 weeks to prepare for you. But they also got a big game coming up. Now, I will point out, so you don't jump on me in the comment section, and we love to hear the comment section. Lets us know you're paying attention. They have next week off, but after that, they play Georgia. So 3 big games in a row for them. I think it's going to be too much to ask. And Auburn, I just don't think they're going to be able to stop this Texas A&M offense. Texas A&M has scored 40 points or more in all 3 of their games so far. And to go in and do it on the road at South Bend in the fashion they did, I just don't see Auburn being able to do it. And let's talk about the Auburn quarterback. Is he going to have the same intensity this week that he had last week? I mean, that had to be a big game for him going back to Oklahoma, where he transferred from, was something to prove, come up short. Now you got to go on the road and do it again. I'm going to go ahead and take Texas A&M. I think their offense gets the job done. We'll go ahead and take Texas A&M, lay the points. I'm calling for A&M 31, Auburn 20. Lay the points with Texas A&M as the sandwich game of the week.
I don't know, Marco. I don't know if you've talked me off taking Auburn. I'm pretty low on this Texas A&M team, especially their offense, which is why I keep telling K-State to stop trying to hire their offensive coordinator back to Manhattan. We'll see. Notre Dame's Swiss cheese defense may or may not have made that offense look just a little bit better last week. I'll call you after the show. How about that? Let's get into some best bets and get this show on the road. First and foremost, I want to tell you guys about a special that we have going on at Wager Talk. Bet on it, all access. That's right. You're getting VR. You're getting Marco. Every college game, every NFL game they release through the Super Bowl, including those 5% best bets. Normally, if you purchase this separately, pay $739 each, or you could get both of them for $11.98. But right now, That's right. $11.98. That's $5.99 each. You're saving a few $100 there, guys. So keep in mind, my math is not my strong point always, but that one tells me you're saving at least $300 between the two. Marco, number 2 in money in college football and NFL combined the last 2 years. VR, number 1 in college football this season. He's up 68 units, 14% ROI, 59%, 86, 60, and 3. I'll let you guys read more of the graphic that we got up here. Right now, all access, $11.98. You get both guys, including all of their best bets, all the way through the Super Bowl. VR, let's get into your best bet. You've got another total for us this week. Tell us why we need to be looking at an under at a game that I didn't even look at.
I didn't even care about it much either, Kel, but I do. I always handicap the board, and I leaned under on this one, and out of nowhere, they come in and steam the under, multiple groups, and I agree with the play, and more importantly, I released it as a 4% to my subscribers. I lost my best bet last week. I'm 9-3 on the show in college football so far, so I said I'm going to give a big premium play, and it makes a lot of sense because Western Kentucky could throw the football. I get it. Done a really good job of it so far this year, but they're one-dimensional. That's all you have to more or less do. Slow down their passing game if possible, because they can't run the football successfully at all. They only rush for about 100+ yards per game. More importantly, they will get some points, but it's the Missouri State side that's going to have a lot of problems putting up points. They're as weak as it comes when they get to the red zone. They're 125th in the nation, and they're going up against a defense that's 37th in red zone efficiency. So Western Kentucky makes it difficult for teams to score on them once they get inside the 20. I think Missouri State's going to have a lot of problems doing that. Their quarterback looked better finally last week, but that was against a Tennessee Martin team. He's going to be up against a much tougher opposition this week with Western Kentucky. Again, the defense isn't the best defense in all of college football. But again, it's a step up for sure for what Missouri State has been facing. And on the flip side of that, I think the Missouri State defense should play well at home, at least a lot better than they have. And they should be able to prepare for Western Kentucky a lot easier. Again, you know what they're going to do. They're going to want to throw the football on you. And as long as you could limit that, you should be okay. So let's go under 61. Let's shoot for a low-scoring game and cash a best bet.
All right. Best bet time for Marco. And this is one that was on my long list, Marco D'Angelo. You are thinking that the Arizona Wildcats can go in to Ames, Iowa and pull off the upset, or are we just taking the points here?
No, I think they have a very good shot of winning this game. You know, both teams enter off a bye week, but we look at this Iowa State team. They come in having already beat Kansas State in Iowa, and that has catapulted them into the top 25. But from what we've seen, sorry, Kelly, since from Kansas State, and what we really don't know yet about Iowa is Kansas State's that win is really tainted, and we don't know how good the Iowa win is yet. They got that win by 3 points late with a field goal. This Iowa State defense, yeah, they've held all 4 opponents to 21 points or less. But again, you look at the teams they've played, none of those teams have been offensive juggernauts so far this season. Arizona will be the best offense they've faced to date. I just don't trust the Iowa State offense enough to lay this kind of a number. Iowa State has been held to 24 points or less by K-State, Iowa, and Arkansas State. Now, granted, Iowa always has a good defense, and that was a rivalry game. So I'll give them a wash there. But Kansas State and Arkansas State, come on. You got to come up with some more offense. I think this is going to be a dogfight. I like Arizona. And what do I always tell you, Kelly? You got a team that's ranked playing an unranked team, and we're seeing a point spread at home of under a touchdown. Something smells fishy to me. I don't think this Iowa State team is a true top 25 team. I think it's a field goal either way. Let's go ahead, take the points with Arizona, and let's call 27-24. Arizona gets the win outright.
All right. And my best bets, as I've mentioned, should come with a warning sign because my barking dogs have been good. The best bets, not so much. So I decided instead of putting Iowa in the barking dog segment, I'm going to reverse them. And I'm going to step in front of the freight train that is Kirk Signetti's team, Indiana. I know they've outscored their last three opponents by a combined score of 192-19. For you total bettors, those three games went over the total by almost 16 points per game. And I know this seems absolutely terrifying, but this is what I do. I find these spots that say, okay, let's look at this defensive team who is allowing just 14.5 points per game and holding their offenses to just 233.5 yards. And that is the Iowa Hawkeyes. You'd have to go all the way back to 2022 versus Michigan to find a time where Iowa was this big of a dog at home. I'm sorry, I cannot pass up an opportunity like this to take the 7.5 for the first road game of the season for the Hoosiers. I like Iowa. I think they have an opportunity to win this game outright. Let's get up that recap graphic for all of you in the comments section. You guys are welcome. We brought it back for you along with the music and everything else. So if there's something else that you're missing here on Bet On It, please let us know in the comments section. Let us know your best bets. You agree with us? You disagree with us? Tell us what you guys think. We're going to get ready and we're going to do the next episode of the NFL edition of Bet On It next. So you guys can get that right here. And of course, if you're looking for the Deli, if you're looking for TNA, you guys can catch that on the Wager Talk Mega Bet On It show all the way across the board. And if you are a special member of the Wager Talk Insider Program, WT.buzz/insiders, you're going to get those all by themselves. You don't have to go searching for it like everybody else. Hope you guys have a great and profitable week. Until next week, let's bet on it.
You took time to leave a comment after last week's videos. I'm going to say thank you by giving you both college football suggestions that were here in the comments. I am Ralph Michaels. This is the Wager Talk College Football TNA. We're going to look at college football teams off a bye. We're going to look how undefeated NFL teams do game by game. And I'm going to finish off with 3 college football systems that are 85, 69, and 76%. Welcome to College Football Week 5 TNA. That, of course, stands for Trends and Angles. First, let's start with college football teams off a bye. Now, you see in this chart, it's a big chart. I have all the games listed in the first column as a home team, as a home favorite, as an away team, as an away dog, off a win, and off a loss. Now, the important thing to note when you're looking at this chart throughout the rest of the season is not to just cherry pick one game. If there's a random game that has a great record or a poor record, that's something you have to just ignore because game 4 and game 5 can be different weeks for some people depending on who has buys and such. But when you have a cluster of multiple weeks in a row with either positives or negatives, those are things that you want to look at and are important to note. So let's take a look at this chart. You'll see that teams off a bye since 2018, and I did exclude the COVID year because remember, sometimes a team was playing their first game against a team playing their 4th game. It was such a bizarre season with some teams opting out, so I just take that out of the equation. But you'll see we have from game number 2 down through game number 12. Take a look at the home teams from game 5 to game 9. Early in the season, weeks 3 and 4, home teams are a positive. But when you get into the guts of the season, you likely started your conference play either game 4 or game 5, and you see those home teams from game 5 on, 29%, 47%, 47%, 47%, and 44%. So takeaway number 1 when we're looking at teams off a bye, home teams in the mid part of their schedule from games 5 through 9 have gone 35, 46, and 1 against the spread. That is only 43%. The other thing that absolutely jumps out to me, look at the away and look at the away dogs later in the season. The away dogs from game number 2 through game 6, basically 50-50. But starting game 7 and on, when we get to the second half of the season into the stretch run, if you look at away dogs and you're playing away dogs with rest from game 7 through game 12, since 2018, again, excluding the COVID year, they have gone 32.4% against the spread. So you're not going to base a play on this chart or a trend, but at least it gives you an idea of what has happened historically when college football teams are playing with rest for the last few seasons. Chart number 2. Again, this came from a suggestion in the comments. Thank you for taking the time to do that. And again, guys, all we ask is that you give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, and share things that you don't want to see, things that you'd like to see, perhaps a new segment I'm happy to add, anything you want to see on a weekly basis throughout the college football and NFL seasons. Reach out. We'll work it into the show as long as the numbers show that it's worthy to share here, and I'm happy to do it. And again, make sure you're following Wager Talk, YouTube, TikTok, all the social media networks. Over 300,000 people are following. Are you part of that amazing group? It allows us to continue all this free content. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I took the same time frame for this chart. You'll see it's undefeated college football teams since 2018. And again, I excluded the COVID season. I threw games 1 and 2 out the board because anyone could be undefeated playing an FCS team in game 1 or 2. So we start with game 3 and look at undefeated teams. You see games 3, 4, 5, and 6, all slightly above 50%. Game 6 and 7, when you start going into conference play undefeated, you'll see that they're 54.1%. Game 6 and game 7. Home favorites. No real pattern because we have a couple good weeks, a poor week, a good week, a poor week, a good week, a poor week. So we're not going to take much out of that. As a home dog, numbers are positive throughout the year. If you have an undefeated college football home dog, the only negative is game number 8, and that's only a 3-game sample size. So that is something you want to remember and take out of this chart. And also take a look at away dogs that are undefeated up until game number 9. 44%, 36%, 30%. There is one positive in game number 7, but again, it's only 2 games on over 500 at 7 and 5. And games 8 and 9, a combined 2 and 7. Even down the stretch, we have a bunch of 1 and 1 weeks, but nothing positive. So from game number 4 through game number 12, we only have one game number that is over 50%. That is an important thing to take away here. We're gonna learn to play on those home dogs and fade those away dogs that have 0 losses playing as an away underdog. Guys, this weekend Warrior special at Wager Talk has been awesome. We sold a slew of them 2 weeks ago when we started. We sold over double this past week, and I expect we'll sell over double again, and why wouldn't you? You're getting all of Saturday's college football, all of Sunday's NFL, and the Monday night play, if I have one, for just $49. What makes that even more attractive this week, I have my first college football 5% this season. Last year, I finished number 2 in college football. This year, I'm 10 and 5, 67%. My college football 5% side plays, 6-1, 86%, and 13-3, 81%, dating back to 2024 in December. My NFL and college football combined the last 2 years, number 2 at Wager Talk. My NFL this season, 63%. My NFL plays rated 3% and higher, 7-2, 79%. Yes, I want you to buy that college football play, but why spend $35 on one play when you can get all of Saturday's college football, all of Sunday's NFL, and potentially a Monday night play for $49? And best of all, sign up today. Do not wait. I start loading my college football plays on Thursday, start loading my NFL plays on Thursday. As soon as I release those games, you will get them. So you are getting the exact line value that I bet those games on and release to my all access customers. Take advantage, cash another 5% winner with me in college football this weekend. The Weekend Warrior, only $49. We're going to finish it off with 3 college football systems. Let's start off with a bang. 85% against the spread. Conference teams off a win by 33 points or more as an away favorite. And now a favorite or a dog up to plus 26 with a total over 47.5. So a conference team off a big win. They're almost a favorite or all the dogs. Again, we're only eliminating dogs of 26 or more, and we're eliminating the lowest totals. We need a total of 47.5 since 1998. Those teams like the California Bears, 29-5, 85%. System number 2. This is simple, guys. Conference home dogs. They were off a home game, and they've won at least 3 straight games. So that's it. Pretty simple. You look for conference home dogs playing a second straight home game. They've won at least 3 straight games in a row. They have gone 26-6-1 against the spread. That is 81%. And I do want to also mention they have gone 10-22 over under. That is 69% to the under. Which team falls into the category that we want to play on as a conference home dog and look to play the under? It's the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And finally, system number 3. 44-14, 76% against the spread since 2015. If a team is an away dog to plus 13, you're off a loss as a favorite, but you still rushed for over 200 yards. So which team is an away dog this week, excluding away dogs of 14 or more? They're off a loss as a favorite. They rushed for over 200 yards. Again, 44-14, 76%. That team, South Alabama, fits that situation this week. System 1 is California. System 2 is Mississippi State, as well as the under. System 3 is South Alabama. Again, please, if you learned one thing on this video, hit that like button. Do us all a huge favor. Follow Wager Talk TV. Take advantage of the Weekend Warrior, and I'll be back next week. If you have an idea you want to see here on this segment, leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching.
Who's hungry? The deli's open. Hey guys, Marco D'Angelo here for Wager Talk TV. It is Marco's Deli, and if you've been following us this season, 3 straight winning episodes to start the season. We started in week 1 of the NFL, and we have gone 10-5 for you with our selections here on the show. Hope you're enjoying it. We've got 5 more winners for you this week. Let's get right into the action. And we're going to start with a Friday night game this week. Florida State travels to Virginia. Now, this is a bad spot for Florida State here, is they've got to travel on a short week to play a Friday night conference game. These weeknight TV games are always a big disadvantage for the road team, especially the conference games. Make it a TV game, and you have that added excitement on campus in the stadium. And we're going to look to the home team in this one. But the real reason here for this one is Florida State. How can they not help look ahead to next week? They're coming off a blowout win in their last game, and now they've got on deck next week Miami of Florida, one of their biggest rivals, hated rival, and Miami of Florida, top 5 in the country. So going to be tough spot for them this week. I like this Virginia team. I think they can take this one right down to the wire, pull off an upset, talk about a colossal sandwich spot. Let's go ahead and take Virginia plus the 7 is the first play here on Marco's Deli. Now let's move to the second game on the docket, and we're going to take a look at Appalachian State at Boise State on Saturday. Here's another bad spot. Boise State is here. They're coming off playing a conference game last week against Air Force. Now, we were on Boise State in that game. They got the job done for us. But coming off that Air Force game where they had to face 54 running attempts from Air Force, they've got to return home, lay 16 points to an Appalachian State team, a non-conference game, and talk about polar opposites. After the 54 rushing attempts from Air Force last week, they're going to see 50-plus attempts passing the football this week from Appalachian State. Throw in the fact that Appalachian State had an extra week to prepare for this game is another advantage for Appalachian State. And then when you look at who Boise State has on deck, guys, we tell you, you always got to look at who's on deck in the schedule. And Boise State goes to Notre Dame next week. We tell you, these teams that don't, you always get up for playing Notre Dame, especially when you're making the trip to Notre Dame. And when you don't play them, that is a big game. They're looking ahead. I can't lay 16 points with them in this game. There's only one way to look at this game, and that is to look at the underdog, Appalachian State, plus the 16. Another huge sandwich spot. For play number 3, well, let's take a look at San Jose State at Stanford. Last week, San Jose State, a home favorite of 14.5 points, barely beat Idaho. 31-28, win by a field goal. So how in the world can they go on the road and beat Stanford? Well, let's start by throwing out that game last week. San Jose State was looking right past Idaho, okay? They were looking ahead to this one against Stanford. It's not often you get a chance to play one of the big brothers in the state. Now, I always tell you about, I call these games big brother, little brother. When you've got two teams in the same state, but obviously one of the schools comes from a bigger conference, they are the big brother, and the other team is the little brother. And little brother always gets up for an opportunity to knock off big brother. I also got to worry about the fatigue factor with Stanford. Stanford has played 3 of their 4 games so far this year on the road. And when I say on the road, I mean on the road. They have racked up some frequent flyer miles. They started the season, they went to Hawaii. They also had a road trip to BYU. And last week, they went cross country to play Virginia. And remember, they play in the ACC now, and that crazy scheduling taking them back and forth across country, that's got to take its toll on a team. I'm going to look for San Jose State. And by the way, just looking at the line, you've got Stanford versus San Jose State, and the line is only 3. And as I said, San Jose State barely beat Idaho last week. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take San Jose State here plus the points. +3 for play number 3. Now, before we get into the next 2 games here on Marco's Deli, got a little business to take care of. Guys, if you appreciate these videos that I'm doing for you, do me a favor. Take a second, hit the thumbs up. Give us a like. It really does help the channel out. And if you got friends, send them the link. Tell them about it. Let them make some money too. It all helps the channel out. And if you want to make sure you never miss any of these videos, hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything to do that. You'll be notified every time there is a new video. And guys, if you like the way I break games down and you want me to do it for you on the weekend like I do for my premium clients, well, check out Wager Talk's special offer right now. It's the Weekend Warrior package. It's just $49. You can get all of my football Saturday and Sunday. Get everything, college and pro, Saturday and Sunday. And oh, by the way, guys, over the last 2 seasons, I am number 2 at Wager Talk in Money One. We have had a great football run the last few years. You can join me this weekend for just $49. And don't forget, that does include any 5% plays. Those 5% plays, 32-14 since February of 2024. Haven't finalized the card completely yet, but it does look like we will have a 5% this weekend. So check that out, just $49. And guys, if you enjoy watching the Bet On It show with myself, Kelly in Vegas, and of course, Yanni, the Greek gambler, we've got a special offer for you. It's the Bet On It combo. If you want to get my plays and Yanni's plays for the rest of the season, all the way through the Super Bowl, college and pro football, individually, that package, $739 for me or $739 for Yanni. If you want to get us both, you can do a combo deal for just $11.98. That saves you $300 on the two of us, and you'll get all of our plays. It's a great 1-2 punch for your football season. You can get those packages, any of the packages that I mentioned today, over at wagertalk.com. Go to my homepage. You'll find the specials. All right, let's get back to some winners for you. And we're going to take a look at Cincinnati at Kansas in college football. Last week, we gave you Kansas right here on the show, and there was a big reason for that, is we were catching West Virginia in a horrible spot. They were coming off playing Pittsburgh in the backyard brawl, big rivalry game the week before. They came from behind, got the win. I told you they're going to be flat as a pancake last week when they go to Kansas, and Kansas took advantage of it, pummeling them 41-10. Well, this week the roles are reversed. I am going to go against Kansas here. A little fat and sassy for them. We also have the fact that Cincinnati comes in here, had 2 weeks to prepare for Kansas. Cincinnati, in my opinion, is a very live dog in this game. Kansas, they look better than their record. Their record, what they say, they look better than they really are. They've caught some teams at the right spot. I think Cincinnati is a very live dog. I think they win this game outright. They're getting 7, so we're going to go ahead and take Cincinnati plus the 7 is play number 4. And let's head to the NFL for our last play. You know, by the way, our NFL play so far after 3 weeks, we've given you 4 college, 1 NFL each week. We're a perfect 3-0. Can we make it 4-0 this week? Well, let's try it with the Atlanta Falcons. Washington goes to Atlanta. Now, last week, Washington won big as they destroyed the Raiders 41-24. But there were a couple things in play there. First off, QB Daniels was out for Washington. And as I told you guys many times, the injured team, the first week of the injury, they are a play-on team. Why? Well, the rest of the team sucks it up. They give 110% to compensate for the loss. And oftentimes, the team that they're playing might take them a little bit for granted, thinking they caught a break with the injury. We always say, take the injured team in week 1, plus you're always going to get the benefit of the line because Vegas is always going to over-adjust the line because of an injury. Well, that's what happened last week, and Washington was able not only win, they won comfortably. But there's a second part to that. When a team wins that first game with the injury, Then we go against them in the second week because the team doesn't have that same sense of urgency. They feel, okay, we're going to be all right. We won last week. And let's not forget that win last week, it was over the Raiders. The Raiders are not a good football team. And the Raiders were in a bad scheduling spot. If you remember, the Raiders opened the season on the road in New England. Then they came home and played on Monday Night Football. All right. Now, coming off Monday Night Football, playing on Monday, and then remember, that was also a doubleheader Monday. They played the late game on Monday. Now they had to play on the road for a second time in 3 weeks, cross-country trips. That was just a horrible scheduling spot for the Raiders, and Washington took advantage of it. Now, on the flip side to that, we look at the Atlanta Falcons, and we're getting the benefit here of, I think, some value, line value, because the market's overreacted to Atlanta getting trounced last week. That was just a bad spot, I feel, for Atlanta. They were coming off a Sunday night victory. You have a young quarterback in Michael Penix Jr., who's only made a handful of starts. Well, he won a primetime game the week before against Minnesota, and then they were playing on the road for a second week in a row, and they were playing at Carolina, a winless team. I think they got caught looking past that team, and it cost them. That won't happen this week. We're going to go ahead and take Atlanta over Washington, take Atlanta plus the 1.5 in this one. I think they get the job done. I think they have success running the football against Washington, and we're going to use that angle, go against the injured team in week 2 after they won week 1. Now, Washington officially hasn't announced the quarterback yet as the time of us taping this, but even if Daniels would come back, it's still a play, because when the injured quarterback comes back, it's the same reverse effect as if when the starter goes out. For the team being pumped up to compensate for the loss, oftentimes when the injured quarterback comes back, they exhale, so to speak, take a breath and say, okay, we're good now, the starter's back. Either way, we like Atlanta in this spot. Take them plus the 1.5. They win this one outright. Guys, again, I appreciate you hanging out with me here on Marco's Deli. Truly appreciate each and every one of you guys. Leave me a comment. Tell me who you like this week. Tell me what games you agree with, which ones you don't agree with. Tell me if I'm nuts. Tell me if you like the plays. But I always enjoy hearing from you guys. And until next week, guys, good luck. Let's cash some tickets. I'll see you next week on Marco's Deli.